Alexandria leading. Back to Tommy Pedersen, right side along the baseline. Now he jumps, now he shoots. He hits it from the right side. Stay with us. This is going to be a dandy. 19-game winning streak. Undefeated Wilmer against Alexandria with a record of 15-4. They defeated Alexandria twice during the year, but this is the big one. And this ball club from Alexandria, win or lose, have played absolutely fantastic. Just a whale of a ball game. With 8 seconds to go, 52-52. Front court. Remember, Wilmer has not been beaten in 19 straight. They've defeated Alexandria 2 times. 52-52. 8 seconds remaining in the ball game. Alexandria Cardinals will have the ball in their front court. And here they go. Here they go. Hang with me. The ball is handed to Nodlin. He throws the ball in. And it's into Paul Dean. Paul Dean is going to drive. He puts it up there. He scores! 2 seconds. Alexandria wins. Alexandria wins. 54-52. 54-52. The Alexandria Cardinals upset the Wilmer Cardinals.
Well, there were a number of them. I suppose first and foremost was the fact that he was broadcasting the games. And my 2 boys were involved in the programs that he was broadcasting. And in fact, we made a couple trips with him, like to Moorhead or someplace, as he would broadcast the games. But an outstanding individual. I mean, he was so charismatic, so outgoing, so caring about people and caring about kids. And that's, I think, why he got into the broadcasting business, because he just really thoroughly enjoyed those programs. And as time went on, Cap became my boss. When I was in the rec program, he became a park board member, and he was very instrumental in the growth of the recreation program, along with guys like Ray Von der Haar, Leroy Meyer, just a host of people that were so positive and so good. That was my best experience with Cap, was when he was my boss. Right out of college, my first job was with International Harvester Company, and I was a credit rep for them and assigned to this territory out here. I had a choice of where I could live, but coming to Alexandria, that was my choice, and we settled here and have been here ever since. I was with the Harvester Company for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, they had transferred me to Minneapolis into the district office. It would have meant traveling more, just starting our family at that time, and didn't really look forward to that. Ironically, Russ Rollinson, who had been the recreation director, retired just at that time. I thought, boy, this is exactly what I would really like to do. Applied for the job and I got it. So I served in that capacity with the rec program for about 20 years, from '62 to 1980 actually. Okay, in 1967 we bid for the Minnesota State Amateur Baseball Tournament, and in order to get that we had to make a commitment to build a new stadium. At that time, Knut Nelson Field had just some wooden bleachers set around, and it wasn't adequate to host it. So we spearheaded a drive to build this stadium, and we got that done just in time for the state tournament. That's where it originated. The funny thing that happened along with it, the day before, I think it was about the day before the tournament was to start, they got the backstop up. And the backstop that they put up to protect the fans in the bleachers had wire mesh, 3x3, openings. Baseballs are 2.5 inches wide. So we had to make a quick change in putting up a new screen and everything, but that was really the only stymieing factor that we had. In 1980, Tom Connor, a legend, who was the athletic director here for 32 years, retired. His time was up, and Tom was just a great guy. Tom could remember anything that ever happened, and he'd sit around telling stories about basketball games 15, 20 years ago. He'd tell you how guys scored so many points, and people would say, "Tom, you can't remember that." And Tom would go get a scorebook and show them. But anyway, Tom retired, and at that time, I thought, boy, this is even better probably than the rec program, and I'd like to take a shot at it. I applied, and fortunately was named the activities director at that time. Well, number one, I guess, would have been to get the right kind of staff to administer those programs, and we did. We had a great coaching staff, I think, and I've said many times, I think our coaching staff was probably as good as any in the section or the conferences that we were in. And the conferences changed from time to time, but we ended up with just a great staff, and that would have been my priority, to get those right people in place to administer those programs. And basically the coaches, supervisors just did a super job, I thought. And we had a lot of good winning coaches. In fact, some of them really established a dynasty. You know, I think of cross country, and I think of swimming, I think of golf in the past. And the latter years football certainly became dominant. With the hiring of Denny Calpine, Denny turned the program around greatly. I think the greatest addition we ever had to our staff was bringing in Greg Lanners. For a number of years, we had a difficult time competing with some of the schools like the Techs and the Brainards, and they were so established. They had great strength programs, and we physically could not compete with them in football or basketball. Fortunately, we were able to hire Greg Lanners, who was a superstar out of Brandon, ended up going to the University of Minnesota, where he was a strength coach. He had an elementary background, and he tired of the prima donna things in the Big Ten, and he wanted to get back, and we found out about that. We were able to hire Greg. He came here, and I'd say in 2 years he turned our programs around. He had kids going from like probably 150 pounds, lifting 150 to 300 plus pounds, and from that point on we competed very well, basketball and football, and any other physical sports. I think the biggest challenge that I was faced with was the start of budget cuts. I mean, up to a certain point, I think all the years that like Connor was there, and even the first few years that I was there, the budgets weren't a real problem. And in fact, at the time that Connor was there, they were still buying shoes for kids and buying clothing, providing towels, and we had to eliminate that as the first step. But then we got into some real major budget cuts, and we had to start diminishing programs. We had to start enlisting some entry fees and those kinds of things. So sorry to see those things happen. Suggestions were made that we cut programs, and I argued with whoever the people were that were involved, and I said that, you know, don't make us cut programs. Let us have some guidance, some other ways to handle this thing, and they did. Fortunately, we had a lot of concession money coming in from pop machines and so on throughout the schools, and we were able to use some of that money to compensate for budget losses that we had, and we were able to get through it, but it was kind of painful.